The USAID freeze has claimed its first victim as oxygen supplies are cut off. So a 71-year-old woman died after being sent home from a USAID-funded hospitals. And the question now is, like, how many people have already died as a result of these freezes? So with this case in particular, it's a 71-year-old woman. Her oxygen supply was cut off when they froze the funding. She's a refugee from Myanmar living in a displacement camp in Thailand. And she was sent home, and a few days later, boom, dropped dead. So, I mean, it's a real legitimate question now. Like, with freezing all of this funding across the board, no caring about what the individual stuff is actually going for, how many people have died? I know that they froze the HIV medication, and as a direct result of that, we have, like, hundreds of kids that already have HIV now because the medicine was cut. Like, this is what happens, bro. This is what happens. And
talk about pro-life, huh?
Frankly, I don't think they care.
They don't.
I don't think they care. Why? Well, I mean, not that they would care if it was an American who was dying because they cut the funding, because that's going to happen soon too. But in this instance, you're dealing with a refugee from Myanmar. You think Trump gives two shits about that? You think Elon Musk gives two shits about that? But these are the real-world implications.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there have been already catastrophic consequences, not only with that, but, I mean, the killing PEPFAR is a utter disaster.
That's the HIV thing, right?
That's the HIV thing. And in particular, I was reading how, you know, they really work with kids, babies who are infected with HIV already when they're born. And if you can, it's tricky getting them the proper dosage because they're babies, et cetera. But, you know, it can be really managed. And if it isn't managed, they can die, and they can die really quickly. Like, that's what we're talking about here. And for what? I mean, the amount of money that we spend over the whole budget of USAID is like 0.7%.
Right, less than 1%.
Of the federal budget.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, you know, they do all kinds of, like, you know, propping up this and that and meddling in Democratic, you know, Cold War type bullshit. There's no doubt about that. But I think people who think that that's what they're going after by gutting USAID, like, you're being played. You're a fool. You're naive, because what they say is they want to take the remaining functions and put them under the Marco Rubio State Department. And you think they're going to cut out the, like, regime change bullshit? Like, give me a break.
No,
what are we talking about here?
all they're going to do is the regime.
Show this video to conservatives and hardcore right-wingers who are so obsessed with cutting USAID and are just, like, going wild posting about it on X. These people are, like, accusing everyone on the left of getting money from USAID too, by the way. Like, any leftist commentator will tweet and then they'll respond, "Oh, have you got your USAID paycheck yet?" Like, send this video to them. Help them realize that USAID is not all just a bunch of, like, neocon garbage.
So anything that was actually genuinely good, like PEPFAR, that they were doing, that's going to be killed. But the, you know, let's make a Cuban Twitter and let's mess around in this or that Latin American country, like, that's going to be, if anything, ramped up. So it's just, you know, I mean, it really does expose a sort of sick ideology. And even if you don't give a shit about anyone who doesn't live in the United States of America, which I think is a disgusting view to have, but even if that's you, they also completely stranded Americans who work for USAID in a lot of dangerous parts of the world, in conflict zones, and, like, totally pulled their funding, left them to fend for themselves, stripped the, like, you know, security resources that they had. And I was reading in one of the lawsuits an account of a woman who was trying to, her and her family, flee one of these conflict zones that they had been left in, abandoned in by the United States government. Like, what are we doing here? And it's all just such bullshit too. And we'll talk to Judd more about this as well. Like, the idea that this is about cutting waste and fraud and abuse.
It's just a lie. It's a lie.
Such a lie.
It's a lie.
Utterly preposterous.
Anybody in the media who writes that down, who says, "Oh, Elon and Doge and Trump are going after waste, fraud, and abuse," you are being played for a fool.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, they call everything that they don't ideologically agree with waste, fraud, and abuse. How is it getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse to dismantle the entire Department of Education?
Right.
How is it getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse to dismantle the anti-scam police, the CFPB, which has returned so much money to Americans, $20 billion to Americans who were defrauded by big financial institutions? In fact,
to be fair, they would probably just say that the Department of Education is bad, like that it's harmed education outcomes, not so much that there would be waste or any, well, I'm sure they would say that too. As for the CFPB, yeah, definitely. They just hate that it helps people. And that's mostly all it is. I mean, they spread lies about it too, and, like, falsehoods that they get angry over. But yeah, they mostly just hate the idea of government helping people. Sad reality.
It's quite the opposite. You are on the side of the fraud if you're killing the anti-scam police.
Exactly right.
So you're actually ramping up the fraud. So, and Crystal, this ideology comes for everybody, right? Everybody that's not a robber baron.
Mm-hmm.
That the 71-year-old woman died because they cut off her oxygen. Republicans just released their budget. They want, ready for this, an $880 billion cut to Medicaid, which would basically destroy Medicaid. Well, what is Medicaid? It's healthcare for low-income people and disabled people. So they're bringing this here at the same time, by the way, and again, we'll talk to Jed about this. Jed. Fuck, now I lost my thought. I know what I was going to say. The $400 million that Elon just got as a subsidy to make an armored Tesla.
Armored Cybertrucks.
Yeah, and by the way, like, remember that thing that happened a few years back where he said, this thing is bulletproof, and then he swung a sledgehammer at the window and it broke? Remember that?
Yeah.
That's the guy you're giving a $400 million contract to? So the same day he's dismantling the Department of Education, he's getting $400 million.
The largest State Department contract for 2025 going into the pocket of Elon Musk. And apparently after Ryan and the crew over at DropSite reported on that, they've now gone into the procurement spreadsheet that's public and said, and taken out that it's specifically for Teslas and said it's for armored EVs, armored electric vehicles, but it's too late. The cat's already out of the bag. And that's the thing. It's like, not only that, but I mean, are we really supposed to believe the richest man on the planet who gets $15 billion from the federal government, who's being sued by countless number of agencies? This is the guy that's going to audit the federal government and root out the waste, fraud, and abuse. Give me a break. It's obvious what's going on here. He is consolidating power. He is stripping the government of any capacity to check him or any other oligarchs' ambitions and doing the things that they want to do. We really, in these first couple of weeks, have had a deregulatory speed run. And it's not being done by, passing legislation, debating, would it be good if we roll back this or that regulation? No, it's being done by completely gutting and destroying the agencies that check these robber barons. CFPB, the National Labor Relations Board, also the Securities and Exchange Commission. Every single one of them is being destroyed so that they cannot enforce the laws that continue to be on the books, and that the people who run them have no interest in enforcing the laws that are on the books. So, if you thought the end of Glass-Steagall and these various deregulatory moves that were made over decades were horrific, which they were, and led to a gigantic financial crash, which they did, hold on to your butts, because this is that on steroids.
And by the way, Elon, if you're against big government and this thing is purely just ideological, you should first and foremost give back every penny you've ever taken from corporate welfare from the taxpayers. That means the tens of billions of dollars you've gotten from American taxpayers. Not only should you return it, you should return it with interest, right? Hey man, I'm in favor of small government, ideologically speaking. That's my view. Okay, give up all your subsidies first and foremost, right? And that's the last thing he would do. In fact, he's increasing the amount of subsidies he gets, because this is how the game works. If you're a robber baron, what they want to do is loot the treasury, take all the tax money for themselves, let them and their buddies get rich off of it, but slash everything that helps regular people. Everything. CFPB, the Department of Education, all these things that we're talking about here, Medicaid,
Yeah, Kyle Kulinski, he does say robber barons looting the treasury a lot. That's basically become his catchphrase. He might need to start selling merch that says it. But it does seem like that's more or less what's going on. It's ultra wealthy people just looking out for what's best for them. It's not ideological. He doesn't care that much about small government. He cares about getting government off his back.
Guys, the game is obvious. The game is clear. And what drove me crazy is him, Elon standing in the Oval Office and doing his little press conference. And the way that these people, both Trump and Elon, the way that they could just shamelessly lie about everything they say, it really is astonishing. If there was a conflict of interest, then people would know. This is what Elon said. Dude, there's 11 government agencies that are currently investigating you for violations, and you're dismantling them right in front of everybody.
Right.
What do you think, we're stupid?
Yeah.
What do you think, none of us have ever read anything on any of this?
If there was a conflict of interest, we would know. Yeah, we do know.
Right, exactly.
We do know. We
so
see
get the fuck out of the way.
We know
get out of
some
there.
of them. Yeah, I mean, it's wild what's happening, and I think it's important to keep your eye on the big picture here, which is it is an illegal power grab. This man needs to be out of government and in prison. That's the bottom line. Because even the damage that's already been done to these agencies, even that damage would take years of really concerted and intentional effort to rebuild. Because once you destroy government capacity, it's very hard to bring it back. These civil servants who work in government are mostly taking much lower salaries than they would command in the private sector. And they do it for a variety of reasons. Many of them do it because they like the idea of serving the American taxpayer and think that that is a noble and fulfilling cause versus just selling out in the private sector. Once those people are gone, the best and the brightest, they're not coming back. So even this, pause and even the destruction that's already been done, we're going to feel the effects of for years and years to come.
People are going to realize now how important government actually is.
That is a great note to conclude on. So, people think it's so fun to just talk trash about government all the time. Be like, look at all this government waste. Oh, Elon needs to come and take a hatchet to it. Yeah. It's like, you guys realize he's not actually going after government waste. And that most of what government does is actually helpful towards regular people. Just because our government is corrupt doesn't mean government doesn't help people. That's the thing. Yeah. So he's undermining the ability of society as a whole to function. And can we take much more of that within 4 years? I don't know. This is just the beginning. Let me know what you think. Please like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. This has been the Morris the Merrier, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.